Hello everyone, I'm Shawn from Property Chope and welcome to our very first episode of PC Talk. Today I'll be sharing with you what are the differences between a new launch and a private resale and how much do you actually need to buy a private property in Singapore. Alright, now let's say you want to buy a private property in Singapore. You are not sure which type of property should you go for, whether for a private new launch or a private resale. First, let's look into what's the difference between a private new launch and a private resale. For a private new launch, generally the waiting period is about 3 to 4 years on average, and you have to factor in during these 3 to 4 years, where are you going to stay? Are you going to rent a place? Are you going to stay with your parents, your in-laws, relatives or friends? Second, in terms of the payment structure, it stretches over a period of time. We call that the progressive payment timeline. And what it means that you have lesser initial cash upfront because the mortgage stretches over time and only begins once TOP. For those of you who don't know what TOP is actually called the Temporary Occupation Permit, which is the day you actually collect the keys. Now let's look into a private resale. What is private resale? Private resale are usually flats that are completed and the owners are selling the properties. And usually the waiting period is about 3 to 6 months on average before the sale completion. If you are going for the private resale option, this involves more money upfront because your mortgage actually starts immediately the moment the sale is completed. So the key difference between a private new launch and a private resale is that for a private resale, you can almost move in immediately, whereas for a private new launch, you have to wait on average 3 to 4 years as mentioned earlier. So you have to consider which one suits you better in terms of the waiting period. Now assuming you have already decided which option you want to go for, let's take for example, if you want to buy a $1 million property in Singapore, how much do you actually need for the initial payment? Assuming you are eligible for a 75% loan from the bank, you will still need a 25% for the initial down payment, which the first 5% has to be in cash and the subsequent 20% can either be in cash or CPF. On top of all that, you also have to factor in the buyer's stamp duty on top of your property purchase price, which is applicable for property purchases in Singapore. Once again, I'm Shawn from Property Chope and I hope to see you next time.